Okay, here we go. Okay, first, thank you for joining us on a Sunday evening. I know you have better things to do, but due to the weather issues, we have to push off the coding style review and the walkthrough session for PCS3 for a couple of times. And tonight, I'm going to spend about 15 minutes talking about Java coding style. And then my colleague May will walk you through some basics about PCS3 so you can get started. And please interrupt us for any question you have. And, and now let's start. So basically, starting from PCS3, we are going to evaluate your coding styles. We are going to consider your coding style when we grade your homeworks. And the coding style, well, basically, there's a formal definition on Wikipedia saying it's basically a set of rules or guidelines when you are writing the source code for a computer program. And different languages have different coding styles, and Java, as one of the most popular language, also has a large set of coding styles, basically the basic convention and some customized style. And the reason we have this coding style is basically we want to make the source code more readable and understandable, not by other programmers, but also by yourself, because later when you look back about your code and you try to understand what did you do right or wrong about your code, and if you have a good coding style, it will give you you can understand your code very easily without any trouble. But if your coding, if you don't follow certain conventions when you write the code, and it will take you much longer time to understand even the code you write by yourself. And also, when you follow certain coding styles to do your codings, and even you encounter some mistakes or errors when you try to compile and run your program, it's easier to spot the mistakes when if your code is organized in a certain style. And this review is basically, like I said, Java is has a very rich semantics, and there are actually a large set of coding styles or conventions different programmers follows. And this review basically is just an introduction, and we borrowed material from the Java style guide published by Google, also W3 resource, Java coding style guide. And also, if you're interested, you can also look at the original Java coding conventions published by Oracle. But honestly, I wouldn't put too much time on the third one because it's published in like it's last updated in 1998. I believe. So it's pretty outdated. And for the first two, there's a lot of you can learn and when during the whole semesters, because right now we are basically covering some very basic coding styles, and as this semester goes, we are going to learn a bit more context about different concepts and techniques in Java, and we will introduce some more coding styles during the whole semester. So I'm going to talk about, like I said, this review is gonna be just a simple start, and basically when we talk about coding styles, we follow about 4 different parts. We're going to talk about how we organize our source code file, the .java file, and how we name different files. And also within each file, we are going to talk about how these files, the layout of these files, and basically a source code file is basically a class, but other than the class, there will also be comments and also import statement, package statement, and we're going to talk about that. And in the end, we're talking about how you name your class and how you name different methods and variables. So for the source file, we in the past few weeks of this lecture, we use several examples, and in each example, we write about maybe 30 to 50 lines of Java code in each Java file. But in larger projects and computer systems, there may be thousands or even tens of thousands Java files, and so basically, to maintain a relatively simple to read, relative architecture for programs to read and understand the code, we usually keep the size of each Java file to be less than or equal to 2,000 lines. You can be shorter, you can be a little bit longer, but typically it's about 2,000. The maximum one will be about 2,000 lines. And also, like we started at the beginning of this class, the file for each Java file, we must have it named after the class it represents. And in the future, we are going to talk about there may be multiple classes in a single Java file, but for each source file, we only have one top-level classes, and we're going to talk about the class nested classes and inner class later in the class. But right now, it's easier to remember by saying there's only one single class file in each Java file. So here is an example. So basically, we in the last lecture we were planning to cover the book cover examples, and but due to the time we didn't cover that. But suppose we want to draw a book cover, a cover like this. Let me just run this program to show you. Suppose we wrote a program to draw this figure, and look at the class name. The class name is called book cover, and also the Java file is called bookcover.java. So this is one important convention you must remember. And after the file names, we look at what exactly is what each file is composed of. What's the structure of each file? So in each Java file, we typically have 4 parts. The first one is called beginning comments, which is used usually for licensing and copyright information. And in fact, even starting from P-Set1, we ask you to put a certain block of text. Started with slash and slash with the comments to specify your name, the assignment number, and how much time you spend on each program. So this is the original. It's like a simpler version of the beginning comments. And this is the one we have on the bookcover.java. You see, we have a file name, we have author, context, and the class name, and also we have a copyright statement. So basically, it is depending on different license. The contents may be different, but basically, the beginning comments give you the copyright information about this Java file and what this Java file does. And the second part is the package statement. We covered the concept of package in 2 lectures on Monday's lecture, I believe, and on Wednesday's lecture. But basically, we can organize different class or different Java files into different folder or directory, and this directory is essentially a package. And for now, we do not have have to specify which package each class belongs to. But if you look at your Eclipse, on the left panel, you see here there's a default package, right? That means if you do not specify which package your Java file belongs to, it falls into the default package. It basically it does not belong to any particular package because we left the package statement here empty. Okay? And the third part of the program is called import statements. Import statements, like we covered in Friday's lecture, in Wednesday's lecture. Import statements is basically when you want to use a certain library provided by Java or whatever third party, you need to import the libraries using import keywords. And here is the examples we use in the lecture. We import the java.awt library.color. That we want to use the color class to specify which color we want to use. We want to draw on the canvas. So we usually have one of these things. And in complex programs, there may be lots of import, many libraries to be imported. And here's just a very simple example. Some program we used to work on. This one takes. Let me show you this. So this is another IDE called IntelliJ, which I use a little bit more often. But if you look at this, this Java file, it has about 300 lines here, 320, 319, something. And if you look, it belongs to a package which we organize, and it also import many libraries here. We have about 20 of them, 15, 20 some of them. So this is basically what typically Java programs will have. We have many imported libraries depending on which one we want to use. Okay. And after we import the library we want to use, then we move on to the real source coding part, which is exactly a one top-level class. Or for simplicity, you can just remember, you just take it like one class in one Java file. And as this one we have here in the book cover, we have one single class called book cover in this book cover.java file, which is about 70 lines. All right, and when we write the code of this class, there are also certain conventions or styles we want to follow. And the first one is indentations. The indentation is basically between between different part of the code. We will leave some blank space at the beginning, and depending on the structure on this, for example, this line belongs to this method. So suppose this method called initialize start on this position, and all the statements should start from one indentations after the left position of this initialization methods. And how long is this blank space usually typically used? There are actually different discussion about the different opinions, and usually there are sometimes people use 4 consecutive space, sometimes people use 2, and sometimes people just use simple 1 tab, and either one is acceptable, and it's really just a personal habits. But in certain companies, but in the future if you work for some companies, they will probably have some mandatory styles you must follow, so that their code consistent across the whole code base of their company. But when you are writing your own code, you can try different ones if you want. But trust me, to remember the indentations that must be consistent across the whole project. It means, so suppose for PSAT3 you want to use 4 space for indentation, keep using that. But if in the future in PSAT4 you want to use 1 tab, you want to try the difference, and use 1 tab for the whole PSAT4. You do not mix them. Otherwise, it will make the code very confusing and hard to understand. And also, in typically a Java file can be written. Theoretically, a Java file can be written in 1 line without the need to breaking into any new lines. But we typically, for simplest to read and for people to understand and read the code, we do not have more than 100 characters or what we call more than 100 columns in each line. So if you look at Eclipse here, look at where I put my cursor. Suppose I put it here. All right, it's flashing. And if you look at this number, we have a 2537 here. 25 means the line number of the code. All right, and 37 is the column number of the current cursor right here, which means this line ends on 37 on column 37. All right, and if the code is too long, if you see here, this is screen. Typically I would prefer a code to be that I can read through from the left to the right, and since existing this part should be changed to a new line, wrapped to a new line. But this is I put it here because, well, I basically enlarged the font of the code. So typically on my own screens, the code should be take about maybe 100 or 120 columns. And if you this is some production ready code here, and if you look at I will just move to the right and to show you the longest line. The longest line in the class file, let's say just about here, is here, and the line number is 88, and the column number is only 93. So basically, what you should typically 100 columns should be enough, and if it's not, just wrap your code to a new line. All right. And you may also notice that for this part, this is the import statement I have here. The import statement is way longer than the largest line, the longest line in the code, right? So for example, take this one. For example, this one has a column 127. Right? This is longer than 100, but this is because typically for import statements and also for package statement, for the import one and the package one, for these two statements, we do not break it to two different lines, multiple lines. For each library we want to use, we use one line to import it. For each library, we use one line to import it, no matter how long it takes. Typically, it is about less than 150 columns, so that's all right. Okay. And after that, we also have some coding, some convention about variables. There are basically two basic rules. The first one is in each declarations, we declare one single variable. Okay, so take this as an example. Here, so basically, we have n equals to 10. This is one variable, and we also declare an integer I. If we use the final keyword, this program still works. But even if we use this final word, and we typically put these two variable declaration into two lines. We do not put it into one line, so that it's easier to spot where this variable is declared. All right, and also we want to declare local variable just before they are needed. So that's why in the lecture we covered this example already. Both two pieces of code will give the same output, but typically we prefer this coding style because the local variable I is only used within this for loop. So we should declare it before it is used, and instead this part of code declare it before the for loop, so it's unnecessary. And then we talk about some line wrapping. Like I said, typically we have about 100 columns for each line. And if we exceed that numbers, we have to break the lines. And I'm going to show you code. These are just some basic rules. I'm going to show you some code to demonstrate that. And for example, here, this is part of the drawable cover code I copy pasted from my Eclipse. And this one, you may say, if this one is true, we put it in one single line, this will be all these four things need to be here. It's really long. And suppose we want to wrap it to a new line here. We wrap it to these four different lines. And basically, because this field rectangle method called four different parameters, the x coordinates, y coordinates, the length, half length, and the half height of the rectangle. So basically, one way to wrap them into different lines is to wrap each variable to one single line. This is one option. Another option is we wrap it. Another option is we wrap it into two single lines. If that's okay, which is also okay. Which we want to show it here. This is also okay. Okay, and we change it to one single new line because each line is short enough. That's not too long, right? But we need to make one indentation here to make sure other people when yourself read the code in the future, you will understand. Okay, these two lines actually is one line of statement, one line of Java code. Okay, you put one indentation, at least one indentation. Or if you break it to multiple lines, but you want to align the different parameters, like which I did just now, you use this one. Both line wrappings are acceptable. All right. And also, we will have some blank lines in the code. If you look at the code, there are also typically many blank lines. So blank lines is basically to separate different part of the code so that you will know, okay, this part of the code does one thing and the other part of the code does another thing. So it's basically to organize different codes into a certain logical group. And if we look at the code of the book cover here, you see when we have this drawBook method, but basically in the book in this method we need to draw the background of the cover. We need to draw a certain characters in the cover, and we also need to draw a certain pair of rectangles on the cover. So basically, we can use blank line to separate different parts. So basically, for this part, we draw the Yale blue background, and we use a blank line to separate that, and we draw text using this part, and we use another blank line to separate that, and then we draw the stripes. Okay, this is basically to make sure your code is more understandable and more readable. The coding style is all about that. And here are some other examples about blank spaces. What I just talked about blank lines, but in the code we also use lots of spaces here, right? Here are some basic rules. Basically, a keyword or a reserved word in Java is followed by a brace should be separated by a space. This is an example. We use a for loop, and for this parentheses here, we have a space here, right? And also at the parentheses of for series should be separated by blanks, which means this is an initialization statement. This is the condition statement. We use a space here to separate them. Okay, and also for the experiments, conditions and incremental expressions, we have one space to separate them. Okay, and also the blanks should appear after commas in the argument list. And by argument list, we means the list of parameters in your Java code. Suppose remember we use we have a draw car method written in the class about trying to draw this car with a body, a window, and two wheels. Basically, these two represent the x and y coordinates, and this one represents the size. So between different parameters, we use one blank line to separate them. Okay? And also, the blank line should not be used between a method call and its opening parentheses, which means here. Draw car is a method. And in the main method, we call draw car to draw a car, right? And we have to specify the parameters using the parentheses here. But here, we never put the space here. Okay? And the last slide I have here is all the binary and ternary operators except dot should be separate from their operand and parentheses. Here, for example, we have a equals to 2 plus 10 divided by 3 minus 6 divided by 4. Here, between the operator and the operands here, we have space, we have space, we have space, we have space here. But if we have a plus plus, remember we talked about assignment as an operator. A plus plus is a short for a equals to a plus 1. This is a unit. This operator only operates on one single variable here, so we do not have any space here. There's no need to do that. And what do I mean by dot here? Basically, in the future you will learn about here system.out.println basically is trying to call the println method on the out class, and this is the way you try to specify the different methods. And this is a dot operator. And remember, starting from the first hello world examples here, we never put the space here. Okay. And the last one is a cast should be followed by a blank. Basically, when you try to cast a certain value, you put a space here. Okay, we are going to post these slides online. So as I said, starting from PSS3, we are going to read your code to make sure you do not you do not ignore the coding style. Okay, it's okay for starters. It's okay to make some simple mistakes, but you have to keep all these coding style in mind so that you can make your own code more understandable and readable, and also more error-prone. Okay, any questions about coding style? Are you all good? Okay, so now I'm going to turn the lecture to my colleague May, and she will help us working through the whole PCI3. And if you have any questions, raise your hand. We can help you. Thank you.